All right, 7 o'clock. We'll call the April 22nd Newcastle Select Board meeting to order. We'll start with minutes of the previous meetings. We have minutes from 7 o'clock. We'll call the April 22nd Newcastle Select Board meeting to order. All right, you're good. Okay. Exactly. I don't like listening to myself, that's for sure. So we have the minutes from March 25th and the minutes from April 9th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Moved by Tom, seconded by Tor. Any discussion on the minutes? Hey, Karen. No discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor of approving the minutes as written? All right, passes 4 with 1 absent.
Sorry, Vice Chair Joel, as part of when someone's on the remote, our remote policy says that when we have somebody on remote, we're supposed to do a roll call vote rather than
Okay.
hands vote.
Okay,
Can I ask that we just, I know it's,
so we just all say
yes,
aye.
yeah,
All right. So
sorry.
do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
Aye.
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
thank you.
Wow, this is good. All right, moving on to item 4, public comments not on the agenda. Yep.
North Newcastle. I'm here to formally request a public hearing on a petition that we submitted 5 months ago with 82 signatures, requesting that weight limits be restored to North Newcastle Road.
Okay.
So this is the process. Kevin explained to me that tonight, if either the chair or 2 of you agree, then he'll bring it to a vote of the entire select board. Is that right, Kevin?
That's the process. They have to put it on the agenda to discuss it and then call the public hearing. And then there's a time period that we have to put it in the paper and then have the public hearing. Yes,
Right. So tonight,
they would ask to put it,
is a thumb up or thumb down.
to put it on the agenda to discuss.
Correct. So.
Okay.
So does that happen now or?
When they decide to. They can send me an email and say, let's put it on the agenda. The chair can do that, or 2 members of the board can do that.
Oh, okay. It doesn't happen right here in front of us.
Doesn't have to happen right here in front of us. This is public comment time.
Okay. So how do we find out if it happens?
I'll let you know if it's added to the agenda.
And if it isn't, then we just assume it's deep 6.
That's a good term for it. Deep 6.
I think one of the things that we need to discuss is where we sort of left off last time, which is whether we're gonna whether the board is gonna take this on or not as far as permanently posting roads in Newcastle. So I think we could put that on agenda item for next week if that's our next meeting,
13th.
if that's not if it's not a crazy meeting, and we could discuss it further at that point. And then move forward with the the requests that you have.
And if you decide that the board is never going to post roads, then the 82 people who have signed this request never get to speak. It's over, or what happens then?
Well, you get to speak, you've been speaking. Obviously what I saw when I saw it wasn't a formal, there wasn't an ordinance proposed or anything. It was a request. There wasn't anything that we would generally put on a, what the petition didn't have anything that would
Require
a formal public hearing, I guess is the
Yeah, I don't know.
we've had we've had workshops on it. We've talked about it a fair amount. So
You haven't had a workshop about North Newcastle Road and our petition. You had one about setting a policy on
Right.
roads.
right.
So that's what
Yeah.
we came prepared for. But there is an ordinance that gives you the authority to set weight limits on roads.
Yeah.
And so we aren't requesting an ordinance. That's already been done.
Yeah.
So we're asking you with your authority to set to reset that weight limit.
Yeah.
Is how I see it. So I don't know how else to get that in motion besides requesting that you take it out.
No, I think, I think we get the objective, what the request is then. I think where we left it after our last meeting workshop was whether we were gonna set a policy or not, or policy to enforce weight limits of some sort based on some criteria, or have a policy that says no weight limits, period. So that's the way I would do it.
Yep. And I think that's we were discussing that in
Right.
the workshop, not the meeting, so I think that would be appropriate after the workshop to discuss it in the meeting with an agenda item.
Yep.
And make some formal decisions on that.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
hopefully you'll keep in mind these 82 people and not just kind of do the end run around and say, we're never going to have weight limits on roads and therefore our petition is pretty much dead without being actually heard. So,
Yep. Thank you. Ben?
Actually wrote it down tonight, so I wouldn't forget anything. Okay, so the week before last, the town staff were contacted by the ATF regarding a firearms dealer license application. The ATF is the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. The ATF was inquiring whether the town has zoning regulations prohibiting the sales of firearms in proximity to schools. While staff were initially surprised to learn that there are no federal or state regulations, we became aware that our own zoning code does not address this either. I'm here as the chair of the planning board to request a moratorium be placed on the issuance of new firearm sale uses in the town of Newcastle at your earliest convenience. I believe this deficiency in our code is an issue that rises to the level where it is most appropriately discussed by and a decision made by the full legislative body of the town. The state of Maine law regulates the sale of alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, but firearm sales have been left to municipalities. Additionally, our own core zoning code defines adult establishments and places limits on the proximity to schools and places of worship. And I want to be crystal clear. This is not about prohibiting firearm sales. It's about whether or not this community desires regulations around firearm sales, specifically in close proximity to schools. This would be the question I'd ask the select board to include as a warrant article for the residents to consider. Thank you. Unless you want to talk about it. That's my comment.
Okay.
No, I think, yeah, it's good. Thank you. Rob?
Rob Nelson, I want to second what Ben said. I think that through state law or our ordinance, there are many uses in town that we put additional restrictions on, or state puts restrictions on. I think this is a use that we just didn't think about. So I think it's appropriate to put in place a moratorium to give us a little bit of time to think about whether the town wants to add, some regulation, again, particularly in conjunction with distance from schools. And we have one school. So I think that I would encourage you to consider a moratorium to give the town time to plan as we've planned for many other uses, but this one just fell through the cracks, or we have a chance to keep it from falling through the cracks. And I think we should take that chance. Thanks.
Yeah. But could I get some clarification from Ben on just what how the moratorium process works?
I can share that.
You want to share that? Yeah.
Sure. So and our attorney's here too, in case I screw it up.
Okay.
So, a moratorium is a process in which the legislative body makes a decision. So that's town meeting. That's not the select. The only position the select board has is to put it on a town meeting warrant for the public to then make a decision.
Yeah.
So what I believe Ben's asking for is an opportunity to place an article on a special town meeting or our town meeting that's coming up in 2 months to address this matter. Moratorium is a 6-month window in which you are required to try to address The board does have the ability to extend it 6 more months. So this is something that could be taken up if the decision by the board is to put it on the town meeting warrant. And then at town meeting, the community decides we want to have regulations around location and distant locations from schools. That would then go into effect. And while the work is happening, no new licenses could come in. No request for a permit could come in related to that use. So that we could address the matter, update our land use ordinance, and then bring it back to a town meeting at a later date. Now, the board has that ability to extend it 6 more months.
Yeah.
So it can be up to 1 year that a moratorium is in place. That's the max. Our responsibility as staff is to continue to work towards solving it, not let it
Yeah.
die out. So it does shift priorities, and that's a decision by the town.
So this would just give the voters the chance to decide whether they wanted to address this or not.
Right. And if the townspeople come and say, you know what, we don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, then I go on with the board's priorities.
Okay.
And if the town says we care, then our focus will be to fix that first of some of the other things we're trying to address.
Cool. Thank you. That's okay.
Jake Abbott, Academy Hill, and Dean of Students at Lincoln Academy. And as a representative of that one school in the town of Newcastle, I'd also just like to echo the comments made by Rob and Tor. Ben, thank you. Sorry, Tor. I just think this is worth a larger conversation, in particular as its proximity to school, not in any way trying to restrict gun sales or talk about not being able to allow guns sales in this community, but I think just due diligence around what does this community want as it relates to proximity to Lincoln Academy and the school that's here is a really important conversation for townsfolk to have.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments not on the agenda? All right, moving on. Item 5A, new business, community resilience partnership. Want to jump in on that?
Sure. In fact, I have Ashley's here from the Coastal Rivers Conservation Trust. And why don't you come up to the microphone? I'll invite her to attend. I included some documents in your packet related to this item. Staff and all the staff working on this are relatively new to Newcastle. So we filled it out as best we could. My hope was that if there were other additional comments that the board has, or, hey, Kevin, actually we're not in future priority mode. Actually, we had been working on this. That's helpful to know. There are 4 questions on one of the pages in that document where I haven't filled it out yet. I need to. This document helps inform our service providers, which is Coastal Rivers, Ashley, and Lincoln County Regional Planning Commission. And Laura's been assisting us on that. That helps them inform what goes in front of the community on our proposed date of June 1st for a community outreach meeting. What did I miss, Ashley?
That's pretty much it. Yeah. So there are 2 self-assessment documents. One of them is an evaluation of sort of the town's municipal capacity. And then the other is a list of actions derived from the state's climate action plan, Maine Won't Wait. That is basically the whole premise of the community resilience partnership, is getting communities kind of making progress on a small scale towards those climate action goals. So it's a pretty extensive list of 72 actions that Kevin's been working through, and then the self-evaluation as well. But there may be things that slip through the cracks. And so it's just helpful to have extra eyes on it to make sure that everything is accounted for.
Don't necessarily need your input this minute, but if you have ideas or thoughts to update or change this before I hand this back over to them, that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
There's also a survey in there, a draft survey in that, which we're going to provide to the community after tonight. I'm just looking for your feedback. That's all.
Discussion of questions?
Got questions? I just don't know what to ask.
Right.
I guess, Ashley, So how typically is this used as a tool for community resilience, I guess? Is that fair enough question?
Yes.
Kind of broad, but.
No, definitely. There are 224, I believe, enrolled communities in the state of Maine. Most recently, Laura and I worked with the town of Alna and Damascotta to enroll. And we're also working with Bristol, so trying to get local communities on board. Really what this program does is make the town eligible for additional grant funding from the state of Maine. So this is sort of a prerequisite to the Community Action Grant, which comes down through GoPIF. And then also we've seen it as a prerequisite for, I think, a DOT grant this past winter. So really it just gives eligibility. And then walking through each of the components of the enrollment process, it's just to signal that the town is evaluating where it stands in terms of resilience and then identifying any areas that really need to be addressed. So if there's a road that's constantly flooding, a culvert that's out all the time, like that kind of thing. So really just as an assessment, but it doesn't have any sort of weight in other ways.
It serves as a baseline.
Yeah.
So where do we
Mhm.
stand now? And once we're in the program and we're applying for grants, we know what areas we need to work on.
Focus.
And then after that grant cycle, we can say we fixed this one thing. So this is where we stand, this is where we want to get to, and how we're going to get there. So we're not going to get Fs and not get in the program. It's
Yeah.
the way I see it.
You're going through a list and basically checking off the boxes. But it's a pretty, it's a good grant program. Usually no match required as long as your action aligns with one of the 72 actions on that huge list you'll find. And if it doesn't, there's only a 10% match, up to $50,000, and it's approximately 3 times every 2 years. So the next cycle opens this fall and applications will be due this winter. And as part of our grant or our service provision, we'll be helping the town of Newcastle write their grant for that next round.
Cool.
So it's part of the scoping process too.
There are advantages once we're in to partner with another community on
Yeah.
things and actually access additional resources.
Up to 125,000 for 2 or more communities. So if you partner with Damascotta, which is enrolled, then that's 125,000 for
Okay.
projects.
And the last piece I thought of, and it comes back to your conversation about the DOT has one program that requires your participation or involvement in this program.
Yeah.
I have heard through the grapevine that more and more of the state's grants will be administered through communities that participate in this program.
Mhm.
So it behooves us not to continue to move forward. And the documentation that you have in front of you is really just a baseline. We're not in trouble for not having done
Yeah.
the 50 things on there. So
You could.
That's why a
technically
lot
leave
of
them
it's in-
blank, like, I mean, not that you should, but there's no weight attached to any of the questions.
Yep.
Just an evaluation.
but I don't know what I don't know. So that's why I needed to solicit some additional advice from you guys.
That's great. Any other questions? Karen, did you have any questions or?
There's so much on there, and I tried to make a list. I can email you, Kevin. I tried to make a list to answer those 4 questions, and
Awesome.
it's a little daunting.
Yeah.
But I do have some things I can email you.
Thank you, Karen.
All right. Great. Anything, Tom? No. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Moving on to,
Thanks, Ashley.
thank you very much. Moving on to item 5A, RFP for winter maintenance.
5B actually.
Or I'm sorry, 5B. Thanks for catching me there. And so this is just to discuss, we received a new contract from our current provider, and the question that we just need to discuss as a board is whether we're want to just continue with that or put it out to bid. So that's opening up that discussion.
We're here right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
So I guess my question to Kevin is, what's the burden on the staff to do something like this?
Just to take the time to draft the provisions up on RFP and get it out in the paper. And it's not a huge lift. It's just a decision of what gets done this week versus all the other things that need to get done this week. That's all. Rufus did send me some notes. I know he's not here tonight, but he did send me his 2 cents.
Yep.
I don't know if he shared that with anybody else.
No.
So then I'd like to just provide that or read that into
Yeah.
the record.
That'd be great.
Any new contractor will be an unknown quantity. There will most likely be a learning curve that is likely to come at the cost of the quality of the job done. Damascus is about to go through the process of hiring a new contractor and the growing pains associated with it. Might be a good time to sit back and watch how they navigate this. Possibility of starting a new public works department has been floating around for a few months. Perhaps signing a 3-year contract with a possible 2-year extension with Hagar Enterprises will give us the time to flesh out the reality of launching the new department. That's his boiled down version of what he had to offer to the conversation. I did ask our current provider, it's a sizable increase, and it's shown in the budget. That was part of the discussion. I did ask him, what you've given me is a 1-year contract. Would you be open to a longer term contract? He says, yeah, we can negotiate those terms once I know what we're doing. He's aware that we may go to bid. And that's the decision that I'd ask the board to make. If you want to go to bid, our purchasing policy basically puts this in your hand when it's this large amount. It's an annual maintenance or annual snow plowing contracts. Ask for your advice on how to move forward.
Tom, do you have any thoughts?
So what we have proposed right now is like 1 year.
I was just given numbers for 1 year. And if I were project out based on my brief conversations with him, that we've had a 5-year contract with Hagar Enterprises for our road plowing contract. Those 5 years have been below what the SSI has been. So if I were to tack on another, say, 3 + 2, another 5 years, it averages out to about a little less than 7.25% or 7.5% per year increase each year. So, given equipment increases over time, labor has gone up substantially, and fuel, I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation to see that kind of increase. The other values I've seen with this is consistency, at least in the work that gets done. But the other side is, here's an opportunity for someone else to step in and build up their program to help solve our road needs. But I do agree with Rufus's concern about, Damascus is going through the same thing right now. They don't have someone to plow their roads yet, and they're going to have to go through the contract process. So the question is, do we sit back and wait a year? Do we sit back and wait a few years? I don't know. And we've touched on some of this during workshop, but I think it's important that we have it publicly.
My thoughts on it are just that I think that we have created we've created quite a tailored winter road maintenance program in this town, where we have we added salt priority to a few roads probably six years ago, something like that. And it's grown from its inception, and it's created safer roads, with ice being something that we're dealing with now. Our salt program is an added expense, but I think it's been a good program. I think that our current situation with our sand salt building and the way that we manage that, I think it would be pretty hard to find another contractor that could manage that, being that it's kind of a very well orchestrated dance to work with our very rudimentary infrastructure that we have to make it work. And I think we've gotten definitely not only quality work, but a fair price in our last 5-year contract. So I would say just for ease of everything and to you know, maybe discuss, a longer contract term than 1 year with the current contractor would be a good conversation to have before we start putting RFP out.
Okay.
Aaron, do you have anything?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Joel. If I remember correctly, last time we put up an RFP together, we only got one bid on it 5 years ago. And I don't think there are a lot of other companies that are capable of plowing the roads to the standard that we've gotten used to. I think any of us who've driven through some of our neighboring towns in the winter use pickup trucks to do the plowing have noticed a substantial difference in the cleanliness of the drivability of the roads. So I think our salting program's working well. The plowing, the heavy plow trucks do a great job. And I just don't know that we wouldn't be wasting our time going out to bid at this point. So I would be for just, let's get a new contract with Hager for 3 years and with a possible extension.
So, I'm in agreement too. I was concerned about our bidding policy, and I'm just reading it here under Kevin's reference. I'll just read it, so everybody knows. So under the, spending authority above $50,000, annual maintenance contracts over 50,000. The town manager shall coordinate with the select board to develop a process to select a contractor and authorize the signing of the contractor that is in the best interest of the town. So I think that does clearly give us the authority to sign a contract without going through the process of RFP. So, and I agree wholeheartedly that the quality is unquestionable. So.
So do you want us to make a motion to do anything, or do you want us to?
No, if you're fine with not going through the RFP process, and that's what I'm gathering from this body, then I'll just work to bring a contract for your consideration. If you don't
Yeah.
like the contract, we can always go back out to bid.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have a few months before it starts snowing again, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But I have a number for the budget process for next year. He'll hold that number regardless
Yeah.
of what we do.
It's good because our, you know, as of the way weather's been working this year, we have snow and potential mowing at the same time. So it is an interesting thing. I mean, we could have a snowstorm and be mowing all in the same week. So
Awesome.
it's the way the year's been. All right, great. Any other discussion on this?
Not really.
All right, moving on to item 5C, appointment of election clerks. And this is just we have an annual appointment, biannual appointment for our election clerks due May 1st. So Kevin has put together a motion that I will read. See if I get someone wants to move it. Possible motion to confirm all election clerks as appointed by the interim town clerk and authorize an interim town clerk or town clerk to appoint new election clerks as necessary. The term of appointments will be 2 years expiring in April 2026. Wow. Did Peter help you with that one, or did you should have been a lawyer? He should have been a lawyer. So do I have a motion to move that?
So moved.
Yes, I'll make one.
Oh, you're too late. The delay didn't get you. It was moved by Tom, seconded by Tor.
I must have a lag in my communications here.
Yeah.
Hence the reason for the roll call.
Yeah. All
Roll
right.
call vote.
So any other discussion on this? All right, all those in favor, we're gonna start with the roll call, and we'll start on Tom's side of the room. Aye.
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 There we go. All right, that motion passes 4 with 1 absent. All right. moving on to item 6A, May 15th special town meeting warrant articles, secondary education. So this is just to,
You seem to do this every year and it's very confusing for me for
It
the
is.
first year.
yeah,
If you don't mind, I'll share some
Yep.
of my thoughts on this. So GSB has its own town meeting process,
Yep.
Great Salt Bay, because it's three towns working together under consolidated school district. So they have their own town meeting. In addition to the board supporting a school budget through putting it on a warrant, just like you do for your regular town meeting, we have to get this done a little sooner than the actual town meeting, because at town meeting, you have to vote to approve what the town meeting voted previously. That's a referendum thing that happened last year, and we have to follow it for 3 years. So right now, this board has to move a warrant, and we attach it onto the back of the school district's warrant to approve the secondary education budget, which is for us mostly Lincoln Academy, but there's choice too. So there's other school.
Yeah.
Students can go to other schools too, but that's the budget for secondary education. Your job is really as a pass through. You do have the authority to maybe change the numbers if you wanted to. You've seen this budget both in the line item. You've talked about it as a total dollar amount, but now you're seeing it in the required referendum form.
Mhm.
And I just copied and pasted the school's recommendation from the select board's recommendation for the town's meeting warrant, which would happen exactly immediately after the GSB's budget, school budget vote.
Yep.
And that's scheduled for May 15th.
when does their meeting start at?
6:30,
Yep.
I think. Yep.
Yep.
And then this one would just
Will
follow
just follow.
immediately. So
Yep.
members of Newcastle who are in attendance for the the three town school district meet budget, the Newcastle residents would also then vote
Yep.
in favor or not in favor of this budget. Correct. After that one closes.
Yep.
So we just latch onto that.
Yep.
And then it's also, you'll see in the next article, the next item on our agenda, there's also questions about whether or not the town supports the decision that a special town meeting made.
Right. Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I don't know how to explain that any differently. I'm sorry.
That's good. So do I have a motion to establish a special town meeting and set the warrant for May 15th, immediately following the GSB elementary school budget meeting, which starts at 6:30 PM in the Great Salt Bay Community School at 559 Main Street, Damariscotta, and send notice to R. Benjamin Fry to inform the inhabitants of the town of Newcastle of said meeting.
So moved.
There she goes.
There you go. That was good, Karen.
Thank you. Learning.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Tom. There you go. Is there any other further discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll start with a roll call, and we're going to start on your side of the room, Karen.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yes. Yay.
Yay.
Yay. All right. Article passes 4 with 1 absent. All right. Moving on to item 6B, the annual town meeting warrant. Moving down here.
Just so you know.
Okay, so I guess what I'm gonna do is we have a couple changes we need to discuss. Potential changes we need to discuss for this. So I guess I'll just make a motion. What's that?
Before you get too far,
Yeah,
I just want to mention my comments
Yeah.
all refer to the articles. And there's a mishap in one of the numbers because our attorney reviewed the warrant completely. And I added another article allowing the board, the town allowing the board to accept gifts of property. And I think that was article like 26. Oh boy. Anyway, that some of the associations with the number, my article numbers don't exactly line up because I added one. So it went from 34 articles to 35 articles. There's an additional article that got added at last minute before I had time to update my manager comments.
So we need to add that,
It's already added in there.
but we need to move.
Nope, you
No.
don't have to do anything. It's just my language is, my manager commentary is off by an article. The article that's
Okay.
in this packet
Yeah.
is accurate to date,
Okay,
aside from the motions I just provided you.
okay. So I think we're just gonna, to open the discussion, we'll just move. We'll move the, we'll move the town meeting warrant as written. And then, we can discuss any amendments. Does that sound good to everybody?
Sure.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve the annual town meeting warrant as written?
Yeah, so move.
Moved by Tor. Do I have a second? Seconded by Tom. Okay, so just read one of the amendments. So we have potential amendment to amend the annual town meeting warrant for June 11th, including on June 17th, to switch the numbering of 3 and 4 on the first page of the warrant. So let's get to that.
The articles are in the correct order that will show up on the ballot.
Yeah.
The only challenge is I copy and pasted without actually changing the numbers.
So we're just changing.
Just changing the physical number, none of
physical
the
numbers
language.
from 3 and 4.
Yep. I mean, that could be considered completely friendly, but I just wanted to make sure that you're aware and the community is aware that the updated version that'll come out of this is the correct order of numbers.
All right. Do I have a motion? Or do I have a motion to,
You already said the motion.
yeah, do I have a motion?
To correct the
To correct,
sequential
Yeah.
numbers, yeah. So move.
moved by Tor, do I have a second?
Sure.
Seconded by Karen.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on this? All right, seeing none, we'll start with the roll call. Start on Tom's end.
Yeah.
Yay,
Yay.
Okay.
all right,
Thank you.
that amendment passes 4 with 1 absent.
Was worried about that one.
Okay, so, after hearing, the chair of the planning board, bringing that issue, about firearm sales to our attention, do have another, proposed motion to consider. The proposed motion is to amend the annual town meeting warrant for June 11th and concluding on June 17th to add Article 36. Shall the town enact a moratorium ordinance prohibiting the review, consideration, or issuance of any permits or approvals of any applicant seeking to buy, sell, or trade in firearms while the town considers municipal zoning and land use regulations regulating the location of such uses. Do I have a motion to consider that?
Sure.
Moved by Karen. Do I have a second? Second it. Is there any discussion around this? Any thoughts?
I'll just say that discussion should be had. I think we have to have a discussion. I disagree with the moratorium. And have that discussion.
I think
I'm-
that,
I'm gonna second that.
I think the way I understand it is that to give the town, the ability to have this discussion, this is potentially the only way to do it at this point. Because if an active application comes in, the town will have no way to weigh in on that. So I think this is why moratorium is provided to the municipalities to use. So I think that's the question. We're not necessarily weighing in on anything one way or the other. We're just saying, should we give the town the opportunity to have this discussion? And I would say we should give the town the opportunity to have this discussion. And I think, again, this is the only way to do it at this point. So I would support it.
That
So the
they-
only thing I would say is that, sorry, Karen, why don't you go ahead, because you're.
Well, I was just gonna say that as far as my understanding goes, we would be asking the townspeople in June whether they would like to have a moratorium so that we can look at presenting a possible fix to this issue, which then the town would vote on whether they want to adopt that fix. Is that correct? Is my understanding correct?
Yes.
So if we don't do a moratorium at this point until we can propose a fix, as far as I can see, we have no control over what happens for the next 4, 5, 6 months until maybe something can be discussed and come through the normal planning board, the public hearings, the voting. Is that? I think we have a gap. We have a hole in our. We have a hole in our policies that needs to be addressed. This ASAP.
Peter, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, so I just want to mention one thing. So the reason that the state and most states have allowed moratoria to proceed in the past is that once you have a use, if there was no restriction when that use was put in, that use can continue essentially ad infinitum or forever. And even if you change the regulations afterwards, it just becomes a non-conforming use. And so once those rights are vested, that's what you're losing. So the reason that moratoriums have been allowed in the past is to basically hold up and, say to a town, which is, it's, you guys are not the legislative body, which is part of the challenge. If it were a town where there was a town council, the town council could, put in a moratorium or put in a legal change tonight. But the reason moratoriums have been allowed is because by doing small town meetings and keeping things, relatively dispersed in terms of political power, you almost need a moratorium in order to stop something that could be objectionable to most of the town. It may not be, but they will have 2 opportunities to vote on whether or not it would be objectionable.
Yeah. And the first opportunity being, if we put this on the annual town meeting warrant, the town could say whether they were in favor of proceeding with the moratorium or not. We're not
Correct.
We're not proposing a moratorium. We're asking the question to the town whether they would want to do that. I think that's, as I've been on the board, when I first came onto the board, I had just done a stint on jury duty, and that's how I kind of looked at every decision I've had to make and every tough decision I've ever had to make while being up here. And I'm just sort of following the narrative as to what our direction is. And I think the chair has brought up the chair of the planning board has brought up a good point that this is something that the town should have the opportunity to weigh in on. It's a pretty simple thing to grant for the town. And again, once it's, like you said, once it's an approved use, it's an approved use. So this would be the opportunity to just give the town the opportunity to work on it, and then the chance to fix the land use for you. My sort of thought on it.
So my question on this is what is a moratorium going to provide us that is going to differ from just making change in code like any other process?
I think it's
It's because it's not going to freeze any permits until the moratorium is enacted, and that wouldn't be until June.
Well, actually,
correct.
it can be set back to the day that it's proposed. So if you were to adopt a warrant article to put it on I mean, you could do a special town meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the quickest way for the town to have an up or down, yes or no vote. And that might be the right thing to do. But effectively, what Maine law has kind of prescribed in the past through different decisions is that you can go back as far as the date that the moratorium was first proposed publicly. It used to be that you could go back even before that. But that's what that's what effectively the moratorium does, is it gives you a pause so that the town has an opportunity to weigh in before the use is forever there.
So Peter, making a decision tonight to add this as an article.
You could add it, or you could do a special town meeting. In some ways, when I weigh those two things, I say, in a way, it might be more fair for an applicant if you go with a quicker, you could do like a 10-day vote on a special town meeting. I don't love suggesting that to you, based on your staff time, but that would give them a quick idea about whether they should proceed or not, on their own efforts.
That's then asking the board to hold a special meeting to then call for a special town meeting for the warrant. So I am
Correct.
probably 10 days out before you have a vote.
Correct.
15 days out.
Those I was guessing 10 or 15 days.
Yeah. So that's the trade-off is, you address this now, it gets added to the warrant for June. That's a longer time in which somebody could say that's not fair,
Correct, yeah.
but we could hold the line at least. Or I'll ask the board to call a special meeting, to call a special town meeting to ask the question and ask the community. That's your call, not
Yeah. I mean,
guessing one way or the other.
I would just say that where we are, I know it's not right around the corner, but it's pretty close, our annual town meeting.
Mhm.
And we're gonna have the entire, legislative body of the town is gonna be approving all our warrants and budgets and everything else at that point. So I think the easiest way to have this discussion in a clear way is to just do it as our annual, if we were gonna have it. And again, I think that the reason for this discussion of it is because it does hit that pause button so that the town can have the discussion. No, that's why if we approved this amendment, it would guarantee the town the ability to weigh in on it. So in short order. Rob, did you? Yeah. If you want to, yeah.
I just want to, I think this is a pretty unique circumstance where the town has been made aware of an issue, a use that we did not consider in our code. But we don't have a permit application. So that gives the town the opportunity to do a moratorium. We don't know that an application is going to come to the town. We expect it because of this communication from ATF, but that the applicant may not be planning on doing an application for 6 months anyway. They were just starting their paper. I mean, we don't know, but because we have the heads up about the use, but the potential use, it gives us the opportunity to address it by putting a moratorium in place, putting it on the annual town meeting where the greatest number of members of the public can weigh in. That may or may not affect the plans of a potential applicant. Again, we don't have an application. So I think that's a very reasonable step to take. I don't think that unduly burdens anyone, but again, there's no application to the town. So I think it's a very measured step to take it's possible that a moratorium gets voted down at the town meeting. That's the end of the issue. But I think that it just gives the town to address something that we just didn't think about. That again, there are other uses that either the zoning code or state law puts restrictions on uses near schools. I think it's worth having the discussion, and I think this is the only way to have that discussion with the town.
So question, do we know how many, this what's the term, how many, open sales permits there are in the town of Newcastle? Like,
I know of at least two, gun dealers, licensed gun dealers in town.
in town?
Yep.
And if am I correct in understanding that what we're talking about only applies to dealers?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this does not, impact anybody's rights to, own or legally utilize guns. But what it does is it puts a pause on the permitting process for new retail sales.
Which is-
So
which is-
it wouldn't be, oh no, actually, I just thought of a third one. So there are at least three licensed gun dealers in town, actually. And it's one of those things where, I'm a gun owner, so I'm not, I'm certainly not anti-gun, but in terms of your legal tools for how to address this, so the community has an opportunity, I think this is really your only. I mean, we could try to get a, proposal ready for town meeting. But the reason I think that might not be good is that if you don't have the moratorium in place, whatever you decide as a proposal, that can't be retroactive. So that can't go into effect
Right.
today.
Right.
Even if you vote it later, that could only be forward looking. And even if you have the draft written today, which we don't, it would have to be posted for 30 days. So you're talking about, what day is it the 16th? Was June 16th?
June 17th.
So you're looking at posting by May 18th.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
on
I
my best day, I don't think that we have
Pause.
enough hearings and stuff for that.
pause,
Yeah.
just
yeah.
pause.
So that's,
Yeah.
that's what the policy choice is.
So, when you say proposal, what are you referring to exactly?
The changes in the language.
In
of
the
the
ordinance?
Yeah.
Okay.
What Tom was asking, like, why do a moratorium versus just an ordinance change?
Right, which would be the counterpart to discussion. It's not that. My first comment was not that we wouldn't have the discussion, it's a matter of time when we would have it. Right.
But the moratorium
We
is
could have it tomorrow.
or moratorium is the only way to make
Yeah,
this
yeah.
actually effective today.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Anyone else have any further discussion on this, or should we just call a vote on the motion?
I mean, I guess I would entertain the idea of having a special town. Pronto,
Okay. For the moratorium, but still to have more.
for a moratorium, yeah,
To not include this as part of
So-
the annual town meeting, but to have a separate special meeting of the board.
which is
to-
possible.
Yep, to come back and then have this discussion again to then add a special town meeting in 7 days after that, or 8 days. after that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So the notice is the point at which the board takes action, posts this town meeting or special town meeting, essentially puts the pause on new applications coming into.
Correct.
So we would have to pick that date today as well.
I would ask you to pick that date today so I can get that
We would
information.
have to pick that date today.
Karen, when are you back?
The 30th. Late the night of the 30th.
April 30th, right?
Correct.
It's next
It's,
Wednesday.
it's gonna get too hot in Texas for me to stay much longer than that.
Ben, do you have a?
There's also the three of you. You can call a meeting.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm just up here in case I.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I have questions, just about procedure. So, why is it that the board cannot tonight, consider vote on to establish a date for a special town meeting and vote on the warrant for that.
I
They
don't have
could,
anything for them to sign.
they could certainly, establish a date. Which would be subject to a, change if they decided they need to change the vote date. But they certainly could do that tonight. But we would need a town warrant for them to execute on.
So I guess my question is, if we have a proposed article for the annual town warrant, why is that not something that can be utilized simply in a special town meeting?
Well, it has to be reformatted and some of the, stuff needs to change in
Yeah.
it, but it could be done, if you wanted to, you could have a special select board meeting Wednesday or Thursday to nail it down, if you wanted to. Well, that would get it on the warrant the quickest.
I just, so I'll be frank, I think this is a big issue.
Mhm.
I think this has potential to be a really big issue. And I don't think, if we're convicted about it, and vote, I think we should move it forward as quickly as possible. I don't see the benefit to discussing this 3 months from now or 2 months. Let's have the discussion now. So,
So the quickest way to do that is to vote to begin, initialize or initiate the moratorium process. You could, for example, since you have language for the annual town meeting, vote on the moratorium for the annual town meeting, call a special meeting of the board and move that warrant article to a special town meeting to do it sooner. If it rises to the level, and I believe that it rises to the level of this needs to go before the legislative body of the town, the best bet is to initialize the moratorium now. You can, upon further consideration, 10 days from now, 2 days tomorrow morning, decide, you know what? We can't wait until annual town meeting for this. Let's call a special meeting of the planning board, of the select board. Let's talk about moving it to a special town meeting warrant before the annual town meeting.
are you sure about that? Because once we vote on the warrant and the articles for town meeting,
Mhm.
that's what it is.
Aren't those going tomorrow?
Those
Well,
are,
It's,
yeah,
it's
tonight's
due, we have to
vote.
vote on it
We have to
tonight.
vote on it tonight. to get it in there.
Well,
Yeah,
Well, that's just the print though. I mean, we've had, I think it was last year we had,
You ended up pulling an ordinance, Huck.
yeah, we pulled an ordinance. At town meeting.
Repealed it at town. meeting.
Yeah.
You could do that again. You could put it on there.
and just
Back.
pull it.
And pull it later and move it to another special town meeting. Legally, my question was just legally, if
Lee, I'm not sure that, so if you voted tonight to, establish a special town meeting within the next 3 weeks, and you would meet the 24th or 25th to do that and have a full warrant ready to go, I think that that's fine. I'm not sure, to meet Tor's concern, that I would put it on the annual town meeting warrant and then with the plan that you're gonna pull it. I don't think I would do that, but legally, I don't think it matters which one you adopt.
Yeah.
But I would kind of pick the one that you guys think you have consensus on, if you have consensus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just say I still would prefer just to put it on the annual town meeting. I think with an issue like this, again, you want to get the most representation that you can. We're asking the town for something and the annual town meeting is that place. That's why we generally do things at annual town meeting. I was pushing for the decision on purchasing the new fire truck to occur at the annual town meeting for that same reason, because we've never expended that much money in a special town meeting or committed that much money in a special town meeting. But it was a situation where we had to do it to get locked in on the truck, so it made sense to do it at that point. This is a different situation. So that was in the best interest of the town to adopt it at that point. That's why I think it was very appropriate to do, to have our, to vote on securing our bid for the fire truck when we did it, because it was in the best interest of the town. We were going to save money. We were going to get the truck that was recommended. It made total sense. And I think that in the best interest of the town, which is what I'm looking at, town as a whole, I think the annual town meeting is the appropriate place for that to occur. Hands down. It just always is. It's always better. You always get a better outcome. It's always a better way to do it. I think that we run the risk of it turning more into a frenzy and people overreacting to something. Because again, I think, yes, if this issue is, if what we're discussing is taken in the context in which it's being taken, it shouldn't be a scary conversation to have. It should be a very reasonable conversation. I think that if it's blown one way or the other, it has that potential, and I think that has more of that potential to be politicized at a special town meeting than it would be at our annual town meeting. So that's
I would also prefer to see it at the annual town meeting, just because we usually have a much better attendance than at a.
It's also just legally, I think it's a much cleaner way to do it tonight. And that's the whole point, is that we're just trying to guarantee that the town has the opportunity to have this discussion. And that's
Decide if they want to
have this discussion. That's it. And so I just think that's the place. It's not an unreasonable time for sure.
Well, the only thing is you're restricting a use. This isn't about appropriation of funds. It's restriction of a use, right?
Well, we're giving the town the opportunity to have discussion about restricting the location of the use.
Well, no, you're restricting the use within the town for a moratorium. It's not location. It's about the whole town.
For new permits, yes.
Yeah.
But
No.
not existing.
No, but it's restriction of a use is the point.
Mhm.
If somebody's dependent on that use and like to get into business, why make them wait 2 months to start their business?
Yeah. I would argue, why not give the town the full opportunity to have the discussion in the most appropriate way? And I think that's what we're looking. We're not, I don't look at things from a person by person perspective necessarily. It's a town as a whole. And so I think that's the only reason I'm pushing for doing it like this. Plus, I think it's not that long of a time. I mean, government takes time to do things, it's just the way it goes. But that's the lens I'm looking at it from, primarily. Just giving the legislative body the opportunity and the best opportunity. So that would be mine.
My argument would be if we prioritize this through regular protocol as far as making ordinance changes, the people of the town are still gonna have input. There's gonna be, we see that every time we make a change to a policy, to an ordinance, anything like that.
Mhm.
So there's gonna be input. the only question, literally the only question is if we're gonna install a pause button.
Well, we have two questions right now. One is that whether we're gonna hit pause. The other one is your question is whether we're gonna hit pause. I think that you're proposing. Your question is when do we give the,
When do we hit pause?
when do we
15 days from now,
give
60
the
days.
town the chance to officially hit that pause button? And my question that I'm bringing up is what's the most appropriate way to give the town the chance to have that pause button
Discussed.
discussed?
Well, let me ask this. When was the last time we had a moratorium on anything?
Walmart,
That
size
was
cap,
15 years ago.
2006.
So.
Yeah.
So, just saying, the annual town meeting is, and that was a special town meeting.
That was voted on at the annual town meeting.
It was annual town, yeah. So.
I take that back. You may be right. I would have to check. The final regulation was voted at an annual town meeting. You may be right that it was a special for the moratorium.
I think that was the only thing that was discussed.
I think you're right. I
Yeah.
think you're correct.
Yeah.
I think that was a special town meeting.
So that's, I guess my point is to go through 36 articles. Buying a fire truck. Approving funds for provider services, talk about healthy kids. Oh, and at the end of that, we're putting a moratorium on a use, which we've done once in the last 20 years. To me, that's a significant point of discussion. I think it only makes sense to make that a special town meeting.
My time on the board, we've always held big town, we've always tried to put big town questions at annual town meeting. The only reason we did specials was if we absolutely had to, or we were past town meeting, it was gonna be, 10 months before, 11 months before our next annual town meeting. It's just that it's right around the corner. It's literally right there.
Right.
And this cleans it up and then we've got it done. And like I said, I don't. Worst case scenario, we have some good attendance at our annual town meeting, which wouldn't be a bad thing since legislative body needs to vote on all these other articles and funding. So it's.
You both bring up an interesting point, participation, which would, obviously be great. On the other hand, Tori's right that it could distract from other critical issues like, this large fire truck purchase.
Well,
Truck's already been.
truck's already been
Oh,
purchased.
okay.
More like just the budget.
Oh, just the budget, okay.
Just the
I
budget.
thought you were saying that was coming up at the same time. Sorry, so you're saying that you voted that earlier?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I guess I was using a bad example there, but
Yeah,
other expenditures.
Creations of new funds, all the funds.
you could also, when is Rufus coming back? Do we know?
He's back, actually. He's just not able to.
Oh, couldn't come tonight.
You back today?
Well,
Well, I think he's on his way. back,
Oh, okay.
Like, he may be in Maine. I don't know. He
Maybe
said-
on a plane.
He said he was on,
It's not
he said he was touching down. He just couldn't get to the meeting.
Okay.
So, the other option is that if you want the full board to vote on it, you could also table until Wednesday or something. Not to make your life harder again, Kevin. I'm sorry, I'm just proposing everything that makes your life
I
harder
mean,
tonight.
so special and emergency meetings, the chair can call a special meeting at any time.
Yep.
Chair shall call a special meeting if requested by a quorum of select board members. Or a special meeting may be called by the vice chair if the chair may not be reached by normal methods. I don't know if Zoom is normal methods. She's in the room, so.
Yeah, she's in the room. Or, or you could, what about the other option? I'm just trying to give you options, guys.
It's so easy to create this document. I can do it. If the board wanted to wait till Wednesday and call a meeting, you get it out to the paper as we're required to do.
Yep.
Put it up on our website. We have a meeting for 15 minutes and you make a decision about whether or not you want to create another warrant, have a special town meeting.
But it wouldn't guarantee the,
Turnout that you
Well-
would get a potential turnout.
no, and it wouldn't guarantee that, and we'd have until Wednesday to potentially not give the town the opportunity to weigh in on this. If we do something
Oh, and
tonight,
if 2 days
if
go
we
by,
do something
somebody
tonight,
comes in.
and again, I think that's the only reason to do it is because we guarantee the public the right
Choice
have
to
this
make the
discussion. Yeah. And so I think we have to make a motion on something tonight. And if it's, you know, if moving this forward 20 days is really that big of a thing, I mean, it's, you know,
Well, you made a motion.
yeah, so I made a motion, so I can
Karen made the motion, you seconded it.
yeah. We can put it to vote. Yeah, we can put it to vote.
Okay.
All right, start on this side of the room now.
This is to include this on the June annual town meeting warrant, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I vote yes.
I vote no.
I vote yes.
I vote no.
Okay. Motion is tied.
It's a fail.
That's a fail. All right. So moving on.
Well, do you want to consider Thor's motion?
Well, we're not in that. We'd have to make an amendment to the agenda to,
Well, what I think the board can,
we're just,
if the chair or the board is interested in taking this up as a separate matter,
yeah, no, I mean, I think we can still do
Call
that, but
that.
we
You
should
don't-
finish.
finish the
We
agenda.
gotta finish this
Yeah.
agenda item. So we have to stop, put a pin in this.
Okay.
We have to finish this agenda item and then we can move on.
Great idea. Thank you.
All right. So do I have a motion to set the annual town meeting warrant for June 11th and concluding on June 11th as amended and send notice to R. Benjamin Fry to inform the inhabitants of the town of Newcastle of said meeting?
Yes.
You have a
So-
motion. I have a second.
Second.
I have a second. All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Start on, no, let's start on this side and follow the
Yes.
rules here. All right. Yes.
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 All right. Article passes 4. It's with 1 now. All right. So I would like to propose an amendment to the agenda. And I would like to discuss the possibility of creating a special town meeting to discuss to enact a moratorium ordinance prohibiting the review, consideration, or issuance of any permits or approvals for any application seeking to buy, sell, or trade in firearms while the town considers municipal zoning and land use regulations regulating the location of such uses. Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion to make that amendment to the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second? I'll second it.
Okay.
All right. So, now we can, discuss, potential date for a special town meeting to, present this to the town. Do you have any recommendations, town manager, as to a date in which we could?
Or not a special town meeting, but at least a date for a select board meeting, special select board meeting to approve a warrant article.
Okay.
A special date could be or do you want to try to just I can't make one tonight. I can't
Yeah.
make an article tonight.
Right.
I need a special meeting from you guys so I can give the document to you to sign.
Okay, so then we have to push this to Wednesday at the earliest.
I can do it Wednesday. I can do it tomorrow, honestly.
Can I suggest that Rufus is back? We have a full meeting, I think full board I think that's with Aaron, remote. And we discuss it with Rufus present too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we can
Yeah,
do
no,
it tomorrow or Wednesday.
whenever he's back though. I don't know if he's available tomorrow, but yeah. Should we? Did you know?
Text.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, do
I
it.
guess the conversation that can happen right now, because you created this item for the agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, generally, is there support to have a special town meeting?
That's my
If there
thought.
is, then you can call us, I can hopefully get a time from Rufus and see if he's available one day this week. I don't know what your availabilities are. Is there a date that doesn't work for any of you?
No,
Are you open to
No.
having this conversation?
I'm open to having this.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron? Are you?
Yes. I am.
You have quorum.
Yeah.
It'd be better to have Joel there, or Rufus there, because Joel's already here.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's without the beard. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know who you are.
I know, I'm so good looking. You thought I was Rufus.
Let's not get carried away there.
Okay.
So one question I would have, maybe Peter's gonna have to answer it, is if we call for a special town meeting to establish a moratorium if it's voted in, can we make that retroactive until when? Tonight when we call for it, or Wednesday if we have the meeting and we call for it? When is that?
So the case law currently supports going back to the date it was first proposed. So that would be tonight.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think so.
you voted it down.
It doesn't say that, well, you voted not placing it on the warrant for annual
Special-
town meeting,
Regular town meeting, yeah.
but it's still the date that it was first proposed. So, you know, and considering other options, if you were to do this, I would say you'd want to do it this week. But you could go back to the 22nd, you'd be on pretty solid ground.
Because there's an interest to at least do it, just it wasn't necessarily at the town
Correct.
meeting, it's at a special town meeting.
Correct.
But now we gotta go through the process to have the select board, have the warrant in front of them, vote on it, sign it, and then go out to
Correct.
notice.
What, I mean, overwhelmingly what the law court says on these cases, not what necessarily statute says, but what the law court says is that they understand that, you know, you can't quickly have a whole town do something, right? So, in order to allow that to be the form of government in most of Maine, you know, they give time to have that happen. There is, you know, there was a statute passed in, I think, 2012, you know, that basically said, you know, you couldn't go back like 180 days or something, like you couldn't go back 30 days in order to catch an application that had already come in. But once you've proposed it, then that's basically sets the date at which you can go retroactively to.
Would it be
So-
valuable to have this board
I-
make a decision on this? To say that they want to have a special town meeting to let the public vote on it?
Yeah, that would be helpful.
What if there was a proposal made to have a special meeting of the select board to discuss setting the date for a special town meeting to discuss this?
I mean, I think
Is
I think that that's okay too.
but is that, I mean, just to put it so that it's clear that the intention is for this discussion to occur.
Yeah. The most legally firm ground
Yes,
you would have
yes.
would be to vote a date tonight, no matter what that date is. And set that as the date you're gonna have the town meeting. Has to be at least 7 days printed notice. So you can't do it in 7 days. You'd wanna have, you know, some time to review the language, make sure everyone's okay with the language, then vote that as the warrant article. So I think you'd want 2 weeks kind of as a minimum, maybe 3 weeks would be wise. That would be the firmest ground. The next firmest ground would be to say, yeah, we do want to place this on a warrant. We're not sure which warrant. And we'll decide that on Wednesday or Thursday or something. Those would be the kind of the opportunities you'd have.
You have a select board meeting on the 7th or on the 13th. You could do it before that. That'll give us more than enough time to call a special meeting of the board and get that document drafted.
Yeah, there you go. That would be a workable solution for sure. Yeah. And that also minimizes the time for the applicant to voice concern. You know, to any prospective applicant. Also want to emphasize that this does not stop any currently permitted retail uses.
Correct. So, does that sound like something that the board is interested in entertaining, having a special town meeting on the 13th of May?
It's one,
To
two,
set the agenda at a,
but have a meeting, as soon as possible.
Yep.
An emergency, select board meeting. Yeah, I'd support that
But we can set the date tonight
for the 13th.
for the 13th.
Sure.
Does that sound okay to you? Sound okay to you?
Yep.
All right, so do I have a motion to, call for a special town meeting on May 13th at 6 o'clock?
Yeah. So move.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tom. All those in favor? And it's,
I'll- It's my turn.
Aye.
to say Yes, I.
aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes 4 with 1 absent.
and I'll work with the board to find a date before then and more than 7 days before then to set a special meeting with the board for you to look at and approve the warrant before signing and putting it out to the public.
Okay.
And that should protect us from this date to then, to the 13th, to have the town make that decision.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Great.
Nice job.
All right, moving on. We have a physical town warrant for $258,901.08. Do I have a motion to I'm sorry, I skipped over. Town manager
manager.
communications. What do you want to tell us about? Short and
Academy Hill Road this week. And the other item is FEMA will have a trailer outside of Town Hall over where the Tanscott building is, that parking lot area on Thursday and Friday. If people had damages to January 10th or 13th, and it's not just Newcastle residents. So if you haven't gotten involved in that program, timeline is coming up, the deadline. They're there to help answer questions, help you fill out forms. The Small Business Association Administration will also be there, helping people get low interest loans so that they can participate in this program. So they'll be there both Thursday and Friday. Nothing terrible has happened to Town Hall. Don't worry about a FEMA vehicle or FEMA pieces of equipment sitting outside our building. They're there to help you. So if you have had damage in those storms, please stop by, say hello. Staff will be parking, thanks to Brendan over at Shuck Station. They're offering their parking space for our staff. So members of the community who either need town office business or want to stop over and talk with the FEMA folks, they can park at the town office. That's my 2 items for tonight.
Just one more reminder of the date and time again, or date.
Dates of the FEMA?
Yeah.
That's both Thursday and Friday. I think all day this
Not
week.
This week,
This
okay,
week.
so
It's
24th,
Thursday and
25th.
yeah, sorry, 24th and 25th. I think I put it in the memo. I just neglected to pull it up before the meeting started. So,
All right, great. Thank you very much. All right, so do I have a motion to approve a warrant for $258,901.08? Moved by Tom. Do I have a second? Seconded by Tor. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, it starts on your end now.
Aye.
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 I,
All right. It's good. And we don't have anything, no, nothing else. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
motion,
Moved,
Second.
seconded. All those in favor? I'm gonna start this one. Aye.
Aye.
I.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Karen.
Yeah, thank you. See you later.